one of our investigators, Savannah Levins, this morning. Savannah, we were just talking with a guest. Their goal is to try to get more people into the healthcare industry because the chamber says that by 2030, Georgia is going to have 100,000 open jobs. 100,000 open jobs in the healthcare industry. And we're starting to hear about some of the effects of that.
Yeah, definitely. Very much needed. And, I think the Atlanta VA hospital has not been immune to those shortages. They've been pretty open about that they've been trying to fill jobs. And yeah, the trickle-down impacts definitely occur. And in this case, we're talking about a veteran who went to the Atlanta VA ER, actually lives up in Cleveland, so it was a bit of a hike, to address some stomach gastrointestinal issues that his VA physician said was emergent, said, go ahead, go down to Atlanta, get this figured out, and ended up waiting a very long time to be seen, so reached out to us.
Okay, let's check it out.
This is in Hungary. Well, I was young then.
Rick Ravan proudly served his country.
Eagle Base,
that's
Bosnia.
But when his health spiraled, he says the system meant to care for him didn't.
It feels like hell.
Rick joined the Army in 1999 and deployed overseas.
This was right after 9/11.
Today, he lives with debilitating gastrointestinal illness, sometimes so severe, he says he stops eating just to cope.
I have a chair that I put in front of the toilet with a pillow, and that's where I sleep at night.
On November 10th, Rick's VA physician sent him to the Atlanta VA Medical Center emergency room for urgent evaluation. His wife Brandy behind the wheel for the agonizing 2-hour drive from their home in Cleveland, Georgia.
He's doubled over in pain from stomach cramps.
What followed, they say, was hours of waiting with no updates.
I went up to the window, I'm like, man, we've been here 8 hours and there's no one here. And she kind of smirked at me and says, well, most people wait 8 to 9 hours.
He took photos and videos of what looked like a near-empty waiting room and conditions he says are unacceptable.
The restroom floors were absolutely filthy. The whole hospital was just dirty.
After 8 hours, they say they were finally taken back, but the problems continued.
The bed sheets were so dirty, I didn't want to lay on them. The bed had a tag on it that says, do not use broken.
Rick says the ER doctor provided Tylenol and ran some tests, then asked whether he had private insurance.
And I said, no, sir. He said, well, if you did, we'd send you somewhere else. And then he left. At that moment, I was in so much pain, I could have just laid down on the floor and died, and I think they'd have let me.
Eventually, he ripped out his own IV and walked out the front doors. 12 hours, he says, after they'd walked in. By then, it was November 11th. Veterans Day.
We got in the car and my wife cried the whole 2-hour ride home. It was absolutely, I've never been so ashamed to be somewhere and treated like I was a burden.
And they have had 12 hours to get something done.
The VA declined our multiple requests for interview for this story, but did send an emailed statement saying, quote, although staff evaluated this particular veteran within 10 minutes of his arrival, the veteran had to wait several hours for a bed to become available as we attended to more urgent patients. We're also told the VA added 5 additional beds to the emergency department the same month as Rick's visit. We reviewed the latest inspection report of the Atlanta VA hospital, published in June 2025. It flagged multiple issues, including waterline breaks that flooded the ICU, non-functioning AC units, outdated medical supplies, and outdated policies on communicating test results. Rick says he didn't get his norovirus positive results until 6 days later in a brief 11 p.m. phone call.
I says, why did you wait this long? And he's like, well, I don't know, but we just want to let you know. Good night. Hung up.
Rick's symptoms continue to persist, but he says his trust in the VA system ended that day, leading him to move on to private insurance, something many veterans can't access or afford.
I'm just done with it.
It's got to be a big cost that he's paying right now with that private insurance.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he showed us bills for thousands of dollars. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any answers yet, but he figured for himself that that would be the best avenue to find them.
Well, I would have loved for the VA to go on camera with you. I'm sure you had a number of follow-up questions for them. They say they've added 5 beds. Is that going to be enough to cut down?
What's odd about that, too, is I asked, when were those added? They said November. I said, well, before or after this veteran's visit? And then they didn't elaborate. So I don't know. 5 additional beds, to your point, is staffing an issue, potentially. And I think that's why I wish the VA would have gone on with me to explain what those gaps are, and then how do we address them? I mean, is it recruiting from local hospitals? Is it more funding that's needed? I mean, the Atlanta VA healthcare system operates on a $1.9 billion budget annually, and that's why when we're talking about wait times, we're not talking about any old hospital. These are our tax dollars at work.
Have you heard similar complaints when it comes to VA wait times?
I have. I mean, to be honest, I think you'll run this story, and a lot of people sitting watching at home right now will have some sort of similar story about waiting a long time in any ER. I mean, I think the staffing is a big thing. Budgets for the ER, or for the VA, they always say are pretty difficult. So yes, I in the VA in particular, although they say now the wait times are only a few minutes on average, according to the VA. And they also did since reach out saying that as to the broken bed, they say it was the handle that was broken, not the bed itself. And as for the results coming in 6 days later, they said, well, he left against medical advice. If he had stayed, he would have gotten his results right then. And they say their standard for communicating results is 7 days. So they reached out to him 6 days after he went in.
Why did he feel the need to speak up? Why did he approach you?
It's funny, I asked him that exact same question. He said, my son is in the Army right now. He's coming up in the Army helicopter program. And he says, I want someday, if he's sick, for the system that promised to take care of him to fulfill that promise. And so, he was sharing the story, even though now he's moved on to private insurance. He said, I'm just done with the VA. You heard that in the story. But he said, he wants to raise awareness so that potentially something could be done and we could address whatever that gap is that caused this to happen.
Even years after his service, he's still making his country better.
Yeah.
Savannah, thank you very much. Appreciate that.